In this video, we will be going over two strategies that you can use to read the text you are assigned more closely. We will start with a know, wants to know, learned chart, and then we will finish with 3 stages of reading in a T-chart that can help you figure out an author's main claims and how their examples relate to those claims. The know, wants to know, learned KWL chart. The KWL chart is an excellent graphic organizer when reading because it can help us sort out what we already know about a topic, what questions we have about it, and what we learned from the reading, an essay, or article about this topic. To follow along in this video, it will help you to read the short New York Times article, Don't Blame the Eater, by David Zinczenko. Here is what the KWL chart would look like after looking at Zinczenko's article. Knows. Take a look at the title or subject. For example, Don't Blame the Eater, Fast Food and Obesity. And in the left column, write everything you've heard about it without worrying about how these relate to the article. A lot of people eat at McDonald's due to its affordability, the products of McDonald's receiving bad press, too much fast food connected to obesity, etc. Wants to know. Skim through the text very quickly, making notes on any parts that puzzle you, as well as the parts that interest you. After marking those parts, write down the questions you have about the article in the middle column. Learned. For this step, you will need to read the text more carefully, keeping your questions from the wants to know column in mind as you read. See if you can find the answers to these questions as you read. As you find these answers, underline or highlight them so that you can keep track of which paragraphs they are in. Finally, write down what you've learned in the third column. For example, fast food chains make it harder for consumers to make educated choices about their calorie intake. Advertising and availability has a lot to do with our decisions about what to eat, and etc. The 3-tier reading process. To fully understand a text, it will help for you to read it about 3 times. The first time you read, simply skim through the text to get familiar with the overall idea. The second time you read it, keep this general idea in mind, but pay close attention to how this idea develops, and keep in mind how examples the author gives connect back to the main point they argue. It may help to first underline what you think the author's overall point is, and then underline or highlight examples and make connections between them. The third time you read, try to take a look at the text as a whole and try to get a sense of how it moves from one point to the next. Keep an eye out for transitional words or phrases that can indicate these shifts. Words like, for example, as a result, as a consequence, etc. Finally, there is the T-chart method. The T-chart is a graphic organizer in the shape of the capital letter T that helps readers figure out the main points and their relationship by writing down the main points of the article on the left side of the page with the specific supporting evidence on the right side. Here is what a completed T-chart would look like after reading and annotating David Zinczenko's article, Don't Blame the Eater. Notice how the reader places the 3 main points on the left side while using the right side to show how the author illustrates or supports these points with details. Under point, we have number 1. Consumers innocent victims of fast food chains. Number 2. Preying on busy families and poor children. Number 3. Adverse health effects of fast food diet. And under evidence, we have number 1. Quote, I tend to sympathize with these portly fast food patrons, though. Maybe that's because I used to be one of them, end quote. Referring to point number 1, consumers innocent victims. Number 2, quote, lunch and dinner, for me, was a daily choice between McDonald's, Taco Bell, Kentucky Fried Chicken, or Pizza Hut. Then, as now, these were the only available options for the American kid to get an affordable meal, end quote. Referring to point number 2, preying on busy families. Number 3, quote, today, according to the National Institute of Health, type 2 diabetes accounts for at least 30% of all childhood cases of diabetes in this country, end quote. Referring to point number 3, adverse health effects. For further help with close reading and annotating, please visit the Kingsborough Learning Center and make an appointment with a writing tutor.